I just did an XRP video, and I freaking nailed it. Even though I made 2 or 3 guesses, but it was pretty freaking precise. So in that video in general, I did and go look at it, like go watch it. Even though it's 14 minutes long, you could skip through maybe the first 5 minutes and I start getting into this black triangle. But you might want to watch it. I believe it was on the October 12th or October 11th. I first gave reasons why it was more likely to break down here as opposed to taking on longs because it's at the bottom of the range, right? So the beginning of the video is, hey, this is how ranges work. You literally just can continue longing the bottom of a range and taking profit somewhere in the middle at the top and maybe taking on shorts over and over and over. And I posed the question, how can you tell when there's a higher probability that it will be the first time something different happens? And I went through and I spent 5 minutes explaining, I think it's a higher probability it will break down here. Therefore, I personally would not take a long here, even though it is at the bottom of the range and I like longing the bottom of ranges. But I wouldn't do it here for this reason, right? And then I gave 2 primary breakdown targets using this rainbow right here. So this is a follow-up. Watch. I said it'll either go to this gray line or it's going to go to this blue line, right? And if it goes below this gray line and it does bounce here, right? Actually, I said if it comes out here, it's probably going to bounce. Worst case, bounce here. But I said if it does break the gray line and bounces here, then what's going to happen is it's probably going to race up to the bottom of the triangle and get rejected. I don't think it can join the party, rejoin the black triangle party. However, if it had bounced here on the gray line, it could hit the reset button, then jump right back in and then go touch the top of the triangle, right? That was essentially the whole analysis, and I took 14 minutes to explain all the whys and how to look out for it. So if I could draw over this gray line that is tied to the 1 hour, it's not an MTF deal, just going down to here. Just take a look. Now let's go to the 1 minute. And XRP is hard to get right. XRP is its own animal. So I feel, so even if you had watched that video and you said, okay, here's that first line he was talking about, I'm going to personally try to take a long position, even though I don't give financial advice. I've given you technical analysis, and what you do with technical analysis is your deal, right? Whether it's good or bad. Anyway, had you followed that and taken a long, for example, which I never suggest you do, you would have had a 1.7 bounce off of there, and you would have had plenty of chance to put your stop well in profit. Even though you get stopped out, but you would have made money being wrong, right? Unless you're somebody who, like me in this landscape, I'm only going for 1.5% moves. So had I played this, I would have been fully right, and I would have already taken profit about 1.5% move up. I would have been done. But most people don't trade that way, so you would have made money being wrong because you entered at the right time, put your stop into profit, and then you were wrong, but profitably wrong. Does that make sense? That was my one of 2 primary targets from that video, and the other one was here. So on really high leverage, you probably would have been, you would have had to try this one twice on higher leverage. On low leverage, you would have gotten it the first try. So it did try to bounce here, right? See that? But then it came down, and then, so on high leverage, you probably would have had to try this twice. But still hit it, pretty damn well. So so with that, I guess, building rapport of XRP price, even though, if I keep doing XRP analysis, which I probably will do because there's a lot of viewers for it, and I got to do what viewers want on YouTube to a large degree. So I'm kind of the YouTube algo's bitch, if I can be honest. But moving forward, I don't expect all of my XRP analyses to get it that well, okay? Because XRP is tough. It's its own animal, and I have not studied it like as a student to its price as much as I have with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And with other altcoins, they follow Bitcoin and Ethereum so well that my having studied Bitcoin for so long and its price movement, it translates really well. But my personal training and self-training I'm going to let you know, like, over time as I make these videos, XRP is finicky. And so just take my analysis with a grain of salt, even though my last video I did do exceptionally well. I'm not promising to do that well in the future with XRP. It's a tough animal. But what I can do for you here is I can tell you what to look out for and when to flip, positions or flip your mentalities on where this shit's going. All right. If you don't have to make this a triangle, but what you do need to do on XRP, if you're interested in it, you need to make this bottom trend line. Period. It's so, I'm on the 15-minute chart. It goes back to September 22nd. Just draw a line. Okay, that's your first basis point. And then your second point is, even though no one else on YouTube, including you don't use origin lines because they're my thing. There's an origin line here. So you need to make a shorter version of this. And the way you can do that, and again, this line was here before all this price happened. Like, I did not put this line here after this happened. So you can tell my origin lines work, right? Because it's here before. All right, anyway, so you'd want to go back in time to like June of this year and look at these, just look at how this origin line is, and you want to make this line as well. And then if you want, you can drag it forward in time and backward in time if you want. Because it has a heavy interaction in the past, heavy interaction in the present, and it'll probably have interaction in the future too. And it's going to be a good line. All right, so you need these two lines. Okay, now the third thing you need to understand when your thresholds of up or down probabilities flip. Let me go to the week. You're going to need a line at these candle bodies right here. So you can just pick one. I would probably pick the higher one because this is technically a little higher. So I would pin it. You're going to need a line around 532, okay? 53.2 cents, right around there. This is going to be a key level. So make a line there for when we go back to the small time frames. And the way I like to mark off candle body openings and closings, just so I know in the future, like, what the hell was it? Why is there a line here? I personally always make my candle body markings, whether it's a daily open or a weekly or a monthly, I always make it white and I make it dotted specifically. So anytime I see a white dotted line on my chart, I always know it's a major candle body, right? Okay, because when you go down to the 5-minute chart, like, you can get disoriented pretty quickly and say, oh God, what is that, right? Okay. All right, those are 3 things you need on your chart in order to get a good grip of XRP price here. And if you can add a 4th thing, just put the top of the damn triangle on here. All right, now XRP and EMAs, I would just throw on the 1 hour 200 EMA. You'd need to use an MTF EMA, and this is the final guide. All right, so we have a few things in play that are key things. The candle bodies of the week, bottom of the triangle, the daily 10 EMA, which is the 1 hour 200, and this origin line. And I've shown you how to draw them all. So now, no matter what happens, even without me predicting which way it goes, you have your bumpers. So if it goes up to one of these, expect a strong probability of some reaction, like a pullback. And then if price goes straight back up to it after hitting its head, well, fuck, it's probably going to break out. And then you need to use the methods that I've shown on my Bitcoin portion and Ethereum portion here today of how do the tiny candles, 1 minute, 5 minute, how are they interacting with that guide? And you can easily tell without candle closures of 1 hour and daily, just how the small candles are interacting. Did they get above, use it as support, then take out the jab high? Well, then it's getting ready to break out after having hit its head on this. Does that make sense? So these 4 things, or no, the 3 non-EMA things, those are your guides. Now, how do I use this daily 10 to even further increase my guessing of how price will interact with these guides? Does it have an increased chance to eventually go above it or an increased chance to get rejected by it? So let's dive. So this is how you use this. Right now, conveniently, the daily 10 is right at the first bumper. So it's adding extra resistance. So if price can get above both of these and come back and use it as support, so something like this, make a jab high above it, come back down, find support, and then take out the jab. So the first high, boom, you know that two different groups of people will be buying. People who focus on EMAs, especially the daily 10, and people who do pattern. You're going to have two different groups of people buying, and it could be a pretty violent move up. And again, it most likely needs to get above it, then use it as support, then break the jab high before it violently goes up, right? Even though it's possible with XRP, since it does its own freaking thing, it could just go straight through. But anyway, this is what I would look out for. And where would it go afterward? Well, it has a strong chance of going straight to that weekly candle open. That's it. And then you repeat the process. How are the tiny candles interacting with this? Did they get, you'll probably get a pullback. You'll either get a pullback, so some type of rejection, or you'll go above it and use it as support. So in the one that it goes above, use it as support, it's obvious. If it takes out its jab high, so the jab high means the first time it goes above, so first time it went above this line, when it takes that jab high, you can assume it's probably going to break out of the damn triangle. Even though it could also then bump its head on that and do it all over again, right? It could go boom. But I would say at this point, if it could get above the week, if the weekly candle could flip green, use it as support, I think it's just, I think it might even ignore the top of the triangle. I think it could just bust right out and fly through all the people trying to short that, because there's going to be a lot of liquidity. But if it gets rejected from there, same deal. If it could start forming higher lows on tiny time frames like the 5 minute, then get above, use it as support, and take out the first high it made as it got above, boom, same deal. So rejection from it doesn't rule it out. It just depends, can it maintain a higher low structure on its way up to here, and then get above, use it as support. And then if can, then your probabilities flip yet again, and then it's just going to keep charging. And we've already gone over the target. If all that were to happen, which honestly, if Bitcoin does rally here, that will happen, then your big target at 70 cents, it's the next origin line up. And we've already identified that XRP does respect my origin lines, and that would be your target. Would it go up there in 1 hour candle? No. All right, to the downside, a breakdown, it's the same thing. I already gave you the bumpers, right? It's all about this line right here, this origin line, and I showed you how to draw it. So it's kind of reverse. Does it go below it and use it as resistance, or come up to a lower high and then use it as resistance and then take out the jab low? So right there, right when it takes out the first jab low below it, when it takes that out, that's where, right? Let's make a line that horizontal. Yeah, so right there is where your probabilities flip super strong to the downside. And it's the same for every asset. Price of oil or black market testicles, doesn't matter. It all works roughly the same. Although, if I can give XRP some credit, XRP is kind of its own animal, and it moves differently than most of anything I've ever seen. So that's your XRP analysis. To the upside, to the downside, exact targets, and exactly how I would anticipate price moving, and exactly what you need on your chart to stay in control.